What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. The Hunting Party, Episode 10. So, in this one, the team searches for this character named Jenna Wells, who is a chemist who basically would put poison within prescription drugs and would kill people doing that way. Not revealed. Some of the drugs she was under at the pit affected her empathy, and so it caused her to attach herself to people and want to become her victims, or her future victims, and her future would-be victims, and that becomes important. So she identifies as her victims, and then when she targets Bex, she starts identifying as Bex, and she tries to kill Odell in order to erase all trace of Jenna Wells's history, and she then gets killed by Shane, who saves Odell, but Odell's poisoned, and we all know what happens. Now, before that, Jenna also targets. She targets the Whitmore, the guy who is really responsible for the attack on the pit and Silo 12. So basically, to reveal that Whitmore provided a lot of drugs that were tested on the inmates, and then those drugs revealed they could be used to affect the empathy of people. So the military wanted to use them to um, help prevent PTSD. So soldiers could kill enemies and not feel a lot of shame over it. And Wentworth got pissed off and sent a tactical team in to kill a lot of workers in Silo 12 and cause the explosion in the pit to break people out and basically help cover his tracks. And because he saw the prisoners as his property. And yeah, and Wells kills Whitmore. So Whitmore is no longer like a main villain right now. So as far as who the main villain is leading up, I'm, I'm getting to that right now. So Shane, as we've seen, has been investigating Dr. Dulles. He impersonated his son, and he has been working with Dulles' daughter to learn more about his own biological parents, and it's revealed that his mother is Colonel Lazarus, who helped give Odell the warded job. And it's revealed Lazarus is a graduate of the pit, so she's like a former inmate. So basically, Shane's mother's a serial killer who works for the government now. And so now we just know about his brother. We don't know anything about Shane's father. I think Dulles is his father. That's my theory. I could be wrong, and that's something that will only come up in a season 2. And so, as far as I liked it. I thought Wells was an interesting serial killer, interesting villain, and I thought some of the cool plot twists, the investigations were cool. I thought now my biggest criticism is Whitmore. As far as it being about the whole thing being about money, that's whatever. But I think they got rid of him way too early. I think there should have been more build up for him as a villain before killing him off. And as far as the whole series goes, since episode 10 was the season finale, and given the odds of season two, I think it'll be the series finale. I like the show. I thought it was a decent show. I mean, the protagonists are okay, but the villains are cool and the investigators are cool, and the premise is awesome. So I think it's a good show. It's like the bare minimum of good, but it's a decent show. So I recommend watching this show. It's a fun watch, maybe something you have on the background while you're doing stuff. And even if it's background, it's something you can still enjoy. All right. Once Upon a Witch's Death, Episode 2. So, Meg Raspberry learns that in order to collect 1,000 tears in 1 year, she must collect on average or at least 3 tears every day. And tears from certain characters can't be used because it's like a mixture of joy and sadness. It has to just be joy. So, Meg's friend Fine uh, visits Meg's master Faust to repair her wristwatch. And so, you know, Fine is sent to Zepeto, a watchmaker. Meg goes with her and suggests she buys I guess, another watch, but Fine doesn't want to because it was a memento from her deceased grandfather. And Zepeto tells Pear that the fairy that was inside the watch powering it has died, which is why the watch doesn't work. And Meg frees the fairy spirit from the watch so that it can be reborn into another object. Then later, Meg visits this character named Granny Flair and sees that she's covered in black mist, which is a sign that she's about to die soon and basically meet the Green Reaper, the Grim Reaper. So Meg wants to save her, but Faust tells her she she can't change fate. So Meg visits Flair, hopes to save her, see what she can do, but she can't change her fate. So what she does is she brings Flair's son Ed and his family to see Flair one last time before she dies, and she dies peacefully with a smile on her face. You know, there's a lot. One thing she wanted to do if it was her last day on Earth was to spend time with her family. And Meg collects Flair's final tear of joy. Yeah, this was a decent episode. I mean, the Flair stuff is I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, it's bittersweet because she was able to spend time with her family before dying. And anyone who's lost grandparents knows that an episode like this it hits differently when you've lost grandparents, especially ones who were well loved by the family. So it was a good episode, though. Some of the watch was interesting. Memento, keeping stuff that came from a loved one. It's like there's a lot of moments in this that like anyone who's gone through similar circumstances. I'm not talking about the magical stuff. I'm talking about like with family, especially grandparents, which is the big theme of this episode. It can it's a it brings out some feelings. And as far as quality, I think this was a good episode. It's a decent episode. It's still kind of funny at times. Like how she obviously wants to not die. And her like reactions to everything. So there's like a good blend of humor and emotion in this episode. Chainsaw Man, chapter 199. So in this one, Denji, as we know, was wanting to eat the Death Devil so he can get laid. That's his primary um motive, and and so basically, like you have the Death Devil, the Famine Devil, and then this fake Chainsaw Man's hair as well, and Death Devil's trying to figure out how to handle things. So what the Death Devil does is eats the fake Chainsaw Man along with the Famine Devil, and it's revealed that the Death Devil can basically mind control those it eats. So pulls out the fake Chainsaw Man and the Famine Devil outside of itself after eating them, and they're basically the Death Devil's slaves. And basically, the Death Devil orders the those two to plunge mankind into abyss of terror. So the whole prophecy about the Death Devil and all that it's about to happen soon. Last chapter, it was a okay chapter. The public school stuff's been it's not as it's not been as great as the public safety saga. I mean, Denji's still Denji. I mean, I think it's like it's basically just set up. It's like, okay, let's let this lead to somewhere. The Death Devil is an interesting concept because death is probably the biggest fear in the world. So I'm interested in what happens next. I'm hoping they're able to cap this Death Devil arc well. So seeing what would happen if Denji actually ate the Death Devil. Would people still die? Like, would the concept of could they still die, or would they be like immortal? That would be an interesting thing to consider. Like, what would actually happen? So yeah, I mean, it's okay chapter. Daredevil Born Again, episode 8. So in this one, Bullseye is moved to general population, which basically, given a profession, it means somebody wants him dead. So while this is going on, you know, Matt Murdock and Heather are dealing with the fallout of Muse's death, and Heather just hates all vigilantes. She thinks Daredevil and Muse are the same or basically there's not much difference between them, even though we as the fans know that there's a big difference. Muse is a serial killer, Daredevil's a superhero, and so they argue about that. Matt's stressed from everything from being Daredevil, from all the stuff, and everyone notices that's affecting it. And then Bullseye wants to meet with him, and Murdoch initially refuses, but but this bar at a bar, he realizes that Foggy's death, um, there was more to it than he realized. So Foggy had a case that he knew he was going to win. He was celebrating early, even before the trial was done, and Bullseye shot him to silence him. And so Matt meets with him, he thinks Wilson Fisk is responsible for it, for the hit, and Bullseye never tells him who hired him. But then at this party that the Fisk are hosting for for the Red Hook for the Red Hook, like for his plans there, like basically Vanessa starts telling just some secret she had, not the other secret. Fisk already knew about the affair, and Vanessa kills this guy. Vanessa kills Adam. That's earlier in the episode, but in this one, she starts trying to tell something, and then Matt, who overhears it due to his hearing abilities, realizes that with Fisk away and not running things since Vanessa was in charge, she's the one who hired Bullseye to kill Foggy. And he confronts her about it, and Bullseye sneaks into the venue and shoots at Wilson Fisk, and Matt takes the bullet. And that's basically the end of the episode. So now you have, you know, Kingpin having to deal with his mortal enemy saving his life, and he knows that Matt's Daredevil. How is he gonna handle that? As far as I didn't like this episode. I this show just pales in comparison to the Netflix one. I mean, no, there's nothing to care about like the villains. It's like are they trying to set up Vanessa as like the Kingpin to replace Wilson Fisk? Like is Fisk gonna die next episode or something? And Vanessa's gonna be in charge. They're saying that Richard is Richard, who is their son in the comics. Obviously, he doesn't exist right now, and he'd be way too young to run things anyway. But basically, if Wilson and Vanessa, this was like years later, and they had a son, and Richard was going to take over, that would be one thing, and that could lead to Spider-Man because because Richard Fisk is more of a Spider-Man villain. He's not as much associated with Daredevil, but obviously feels like they're trying to set up Vanessa running things, and they're gonna probably get rid of Wilson Fisk like next week or like very soon. I didn't like this episode. I haven't liked any episode. Thought Muse was a waste in the previous episodes. Thought Bullseye, like they didn't set up Bullseye, like and and now if this was like a procedural show where you had like your villain of the week, you could do something like this because you have your recurring villains, you have get your guest characters. Because procedurals, you do have a fully developed plot within like 30 minutes to an hour. But when you're doing a fully serialized thing like this, and you get rid of an important character this early, it does look bad because of that type of show. But since this is, and that's why people are not happy about Muse being killed off. People are not happy about the lack of Bullseye or what they're doing with Kingpin. Like there's not much of Kingpin. Like I was not a fan of this episode. I'll watch next week's. I if they're required to release season two, then they'll release it. But if not, I could see them canceling it. But you know, who knows? Maybe they might be able to pull something off next week. I doubt it. I doubt it, but they might. Apocalypse Hotel, episode one. So in this one, something happened that causes humanity to disappear from Earth, and these robots are left to run a hotel. So you have the manager, then the doorman, who both take their jobs very seriously to a comical level. Basically, they're just there waiting for guests and to serve any guests that would happen to show up. And yeah, basically, this episode just introduces the characters, introduces the world, and as far as quality, it's interesting. Anime originals are kind of hit and miss. You have your really good ones, you have really bad ones, you have some that are mid, but this one was okay. It was fun. That's interesting. I liked it. I think this could be a good sleeper show. Pretty niche, goes under the radar because it's an anime original. Most of those do go under the radar, and the robots were interesting. The doorman was funny. The whole the manager would just pour water on the doorman, even though for opening the door when there's no one at the door. It was funny, and yeah, I like this episode. I look forward to future episodes. And that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.